going on, guys? Fizz here once again. So as you can probably tell, looking at the bottom corner, it's 4 a.m. So I am quite tired, been working on this, but I want to get it out as soon as possible because obviously the minutes are counting down until league start. So this is going to be my usual, like, these are the builds I would recommend to people to play for league start, but it's a twist. It's not like the top 5 builds that I recommend with POBs. So this video is going to be me slightly going over each build. There will be timestamps or chapters in the description. Sorry, let me mute that. There will be chapters or timestamps in the description. So if you see a build that catches your eye, just go ahead and click that and you'll skip straight to the breakdown of it. I'm going to start with that. So I have 2 different sets of builds here. I have hybrid builds that are good at both mapping and bossing, and I have zoomer builds that are simply made for mapping. I will explain why I have these 2 categories. I tried to make a pure bosser, a hybrid, and a zoomer list, but there wasn't really enough. There's too much bleed between hybrid and pure bosser. I think the reality of the game in current PoE is just that there is no like really slow boss only build. Pretty much every bossing build is still going to have relatively decent to good clear speed and maps. It's just when you start, you know, focusing more on the zoom side of things, things just get exponentially faster. But there's nothing I would consider like slow that is just bossing. I think hybrid explains it a little bit better. But hybrids are going to be good at pretty much everything, good all-rounders. And then zoomers are going to be like, you don't care about bosses, you just want to zoom. And the reason why I have this is this is my Atlas tree, don't really worry about it, but the new Atlas system in general actually lets you decide what you want to do. The removal of needing to get watchstones, the removal of conquers, and the removal of use it or lose it boss encounters means in this new PoE, and the new age of PoE, the new mapping age, I guess, you get to decide what type of content you really want to push. It's very cool. It adds a lot of freedom to the game. So previously, Cirrus and the Conquerors, if you spawned them, you had to fight them, and you needed to fight them for watchstones. So a lot of very fast zoomer map builds, especially in SF or hardcore, completely fell out of the meta. Everything basically became a hybrid build. Now, the only time you have to fight a boss is the very first time you spawn the new bosses. After that, they become an invite system and you don't have to interact with them at all. A lot of you guys may be thinking, yeah, but you need to kill endgame bosses for void stones. True, but void stones are not necessary to play the game. They basically unlock sextants and just level up other maps. You can get T16 maps without having to do any of those bosses. Another thing of note, if you're playing a zoomer, it is a completely valid strat to just rush, juice zoom to get as much currency, because a lot of people are gonna be playing bossers. You can rush, get your zoom in, juice like map specific things, because a lot of people are going to be taking boss centric nodes on the Atlas tree. Rush and get all your zoom, juice, get currency that way, and then pay for a Uber Elder carry, pay for a Crystal Exart kill if you're playing like a super giga juicer build that can't boss, like Poison's Concoction Occultist, right? So that is a completely valid strategy. So that's why I have 2 different types of league starters here. Because there's 2 different ways to play the game now, and you can do what you want to do. So first I'm going to go over the hybrids, then I'm going to go over the zoomers. So first up, hybrid, I have Exsang, Seismic, Sab. There's been a few people like naysaying whatever. Don't listen to those people. This is still probably the best build in the game. It's going to be crazy regardless of what nerf it ends up getting. So this is, I'm linking Ventura. If you don't know who Ventura is, he is another HSF racer. He's a very good player. He's a very fast player. And he made this massive guide for Exsang, Seismic Trap. He made this guide for Gauntlet. But this is an amazing 20-page document on Google Docs that just goes over like leveling, gyms, everything. It's got POBs, leveling POBs and everything. So this is much better than just linking a POB. So all of the links for everything I go over here will be down in the description below, so you can check that out. This is a great resource. If you want to play probably the strongest starter, consider this and consider using Ventura's guide. Next up, we have Spectral Helix Champ. So this is going to be what I'm starting. And then this is my own POB here. So I'm going to be releasing all these POBs to you guys. And a lot of them have notes for the Spectral Helix. Best bases for Helix are Despot and Ezomite axes because they have good attack speed. Attack speed is very important. Fledgling Helmet is a unique from a unique heist contract following the Audia quest line. And until you obtain the Lord of Steel unique jewel, you need to have your Impale mastery slotted for Call of Steel AoE plus use speed. Unspec the mastery and take Dread Banner reservation after you get the jewel. Okay, so this is the tree. There is no leveling tree, so I don't have enough time to make leveling trees for all of these things. But you can kind of, I mean, you should be able to look at this and kind of work out like what you're going to need when. You do not need to like grab, obviously, these things over here at the start. When you first start leveling, you're just going to kind of like follow the path around here. Grab Destroyer, path over here. Probably rush the Armor Mastery from Soul of Steel to get your Determination up. And then just kind of go from here. It's going to depend on what you're playing. Like if you're playing HCSSF, it's kind of between if you want to go up and get Born to Fight, or if you want to go left and start pathing left for, you know, Resolute Technique and grabbing the axe nodes and stuff like that. Down here you have Wrecking Ball. I'll usually pick this up around the time I'm getting into maps. So yeah, just kind of, you know, just kind of take what you need as you go. There's a lot of kind of like open-endedness with this. I would say the only thing that's super set in stone is probably take this way later on when you're getting into maps, or like later on in maps and you actually are itemizing for spell suppression and whatnot. And then yeah, just kind of like you'll go through Destroyer and then just rush Soul of Steel with Determination and probably get like maybe Bloodless early on, or something like that, another life node somewhere to get like a Vitality mastery while leveling. That would probably help. You're probably gonna be using life tap while leveling on Spectral Helix. So yeah, just something like that. It's a pretty open-ended tree. You can kind of do whatever you want here. It does have gym setups here as well. So that's going to be Spectral Helix Champ. And I'm obviously, as you can tell, I'm giving this to you guys all in one video. I'm not splitting it up video by video by video. One, I think that wastes time, especially time that I don't have right now when we're like basically 2 days away from League start. And two, I think this is a lot easier to digest for people, and people won't have to wait. They'll just be able to see my opinions, see what I recommend, and just get it all out, you know, all at the same time. So here I have another recommendation. Zizarin / XaiTV's Explosive Arrow Totems. So Explosive Arrow Totems was already good this league. It got massively buffed going into next league, so it is really good. I have only linked the YouTube video for this because it would be really scummy of me to just link their POBs. If you want the POBs, there is a Hierophant version and a champion version. They're in the description to Zizarin's video. I'm sure my channel's way small, right? Like you guys don't need me to tell you who Zizarin is. But if you haven't seen it, there is an Explosive Arrow Hierophant / champion build. This is what this is going to be like the overwhelming meta. This is the toxic rain of this league start. Okay, so there's going to be a ton of people playing this, but it is quite strong. It's pretty decent mapping and it's pretty good bossing. With one caveat, it's going to feel a little bit awkward. The way it works is you're going to throw down totems and they're going to shoot stuff and they're going to shoot stuff and they're going to shoot stuff until enough fusings hit, and then they'll all explode at the same time. So there's delay there. There's quite a large delay. I personally don't like the build. I think it feels really clunky. At least with Hydrosphere getting nerfed into Oblivion, you don't have to use Hydrosphere on the build anymore, which will make it less clunky, but I still don't like that awkward delay while mapping. I will say that Explosive Arrow Totems was very fun to level, but as soon as I got into maps, it started feeling really bad really fast. However, it is really strong. It's just beware. It's another one of those like Spectral Helix things where it's probably not going to feel great for everyone. So moving on here, we have RF Inquisitor. So this is a super generic tree. Shoot, where's my tree at? I must have put it in the wrong spot. Right here. Okay, so this is the tree. So normally I try to make everything super like SSF friendly. However, I left Rise of the Phoenix in this POB, and also Glorious Vanity. The reason I left Glorious Vanity in here is because it changes literally nothing about the build. Until you get a Glorious Vanity, or if you don't have a Glorious Vanity, you literally just don't check these nodes. You still want Divine Shield, nothing changes. Literally nothing changes. That's why I left a Timeless Jewel in the build. Otherwise, I would have taken it out. But again, it changes literally nothing about the build, and you definitely want to be getting this if you're playing any Inquisitor build. Glorious Vanity is just so good on Inquisitor because of the way Pious Path works. Kind of the same thing. Pox has a really good like rundown for leveling if you really need a bunch of help leveling, but you're kind of start out here, you know, grab these nodes here, ignore the amplify while leveling, and if you want to do RF as soon as possible, what you can actually do is just straight rush this node right here. Hardy is incredibly strong. It gives you so much regen. Pretty much as soon as you spec this and you get your +1 max fire res from Barbarism, you can probably just sustain RF off that. Until you get that, basically just level with whatever you feel like. Holy Flame Totem if you want. You know, there's the typical Stormblast Mine meta. Like, just level with whatever you feel like. If you want to wait until you get, like, Pious Path for easier regen, before you swap, you can level with Armageddon Brand. Just your typical, like, fire Ignite Tree. It's the same. Like, the nodes won't change or anything. You'll just grab the fire nodes a little bit earlier and not worry as much about the regen nodes. So it's up to you how you want to level. So again, the POB will be down in the description. So this is the last thing. A lot of people have been playing, practicing Poison Concoction Pathfinder for the race. I am a hard non-believer in this build doing well in the race. However, that is the race. When it comes to not the race, I think it is actually a really solid league start. So let me go back to my 3.17. So this is a PF. So in my notes section, I have for the non-cluster setup, make sure you cap your chaos res, or at least pump it as much as you can. Chaos res gives you dot multi with this tree, so you get damage whilst building defense. So here, this is the only tree that has 2 different trees, if I recall correctly, outside of my Earthshatter tree. So there's a cluster jewel setup for when you get your cluster jewels. This is optimal setup, and then you have a no cluster jewel setup. So you can use this tree until you get your cluster jewels set up. This tree will still do good damage, and the bonus of this tree is you're gonna have a lot of chaos res, and you will actually get CB immune from this node if you so happen to take it. Anyway, so the Poison Concoction Pathfinder, the reason I think it's a really good starter because like you get your end game weapon basically as soon as you start maps, right? Like you get your final life flask, and then you're just pumping. Feels really good. The reason, if you're worried because I said I wasn't a believer, I'm not a believer in this killing all the endgame bosses in like 2 days. That's my doubt with this build. Not that it's a good build to play. It's going to be a strong starter in SSF. It's going to be a strong starter in Trade League. It's very fast. If you're wondering like the difference between like a Pathfinder and Occultist is going to map at the speed of fucking light. But Pathfinder can actually boss. Like the Occultist version literally cannot boss. Like you're not going to sustain flash charges and stuff like that. It has no sustain whatsoever. So this version's a lot more well-rounded. If you want to be able to like do, you know, like all content on the character, this is going to be the setup that you want to go for. So on to the next one. We are now moving into my honorable shill. I was going to put honorable mention, but it's going to be honorable shill. So this build is a pretty decent hybrid build. I don't think it's like the best, but it is something that I have league started the past 2 leagues, and I think it is very strong and it is very fun. It is my very in-depth guide on Earthshatter Berserker. If you want to play slams, if you're feeling a hankering for slams, they did get slightly bug fixed. I don't know how much of a real impact that has for this, but they did get slightly bug fixed, and they're looking pretty good. Some of the new influences may be hype, we'll have to see, but this build's really strong. If you've been missing slams a little bit, you feel nostalgic for it, feel free to check out my guide. Just kind of using this minute to like advertise a little bit. So I have a full like leveling tree set up. All the labs, everything down here, endgame tree, skill gem set up with color codings on the main skill. You can also use this exact same thing for Rage Vortex if you want. You just use axes instead of maces. I did go over this in that video as well. So if you wanted to go Rage Vortex, you would just unspec this and spec this instead. That's literally the only change you need to make. Everything else stays exactly the same. There it is. All right, and then the really cool thing about this guide that I made is it has crazy notes, and this is all updated for 3.17. So you don't have to worry about anything else. It's not one of those guides where I just updated the title of the video and didn't change anything about it. Nothing about the build changed, but I did slightly change some notes, like adding things regarding spell suppression. But and then changing some of the gems around while leveling. So there were a few changes here, but not a whole lot needed to change to make this 3.17 ready, but this is a very fun build. If you want to know more about it, I will have this guide POV down below with all the notes. If you prefer to watch it in a video format, I will link to the video down below as well. All right, so now we're moving on to the Zoomer builds. So the Zoomer builds, I have Poisonous Concoction, Occultist, Shield Crush, Gladiator, Bleed, Volatile, Dead, Detonate, Dead, Spellslinger, and Bleed Bow, Glad, played with Split Arrow. So, starting off, we will go over the Poisonous Concoction, Occultist. So this build is very, very similar to the... Let me down level that. This build is very similar to the Pathfinder, except this one is based purely on mapping. So, full transparency, all I really did with this tree is unspec a few nodes and make it a 95 tree, because I think linking people level 100 trees is really fucking troll. So I made it a level 95 tree, and this is just one of the many, many, many trees from Scourge that were level 100 that people played to level 100. So this build does not have, what do you call it? It does not have determination in it. The reason, normally if I saw a build didn't have determination in it, I would immediately dock leave. However, we can see, like, if you look at PoE Ninja, it's like 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 99, 99, 99, 99, 98, 98. Like, there's so many people that play this build to an insanely high level in a much rippier league than the one we're going to be playing in now. So this build is only better, especially with now being a Zoomer actually being, like, promoted outside of XP races. This build should be really, really strong if you just want to map. Again, these are Zoomer builds. These are just mapping builds. You will not be bossing on this build whatsoever. But if you just want to go super fast, this build is amazing for mapping at the speed of light. It's so fucking fast, guys. This is one of the fastest builds to map with in the game, at least from an SSF perspective. All right, moving on to the next thing. We have Shield Crush, Glad, Bleed. Again, this is another one of those builds where really it's like 100, 100, 100, 100, 99, 99. You know what I mean? Like, a billion people played this exact build to level 100 with very little disparity between them. So I down-leveled the tree a little bit. I think this is a 97 tree, though. If you wanted to make it like a 95 tree, you could literally just take a few, like, don't take these. Now you're 94 tree. Easy. You know, like, there's a lot you can do to make it easier. So, again, just yoinked a random PoE Ninja build, changed a few things around, and added some notes. So... you'll want to get a Shrieking Essence of Loathing and craft mana reservation efficiency, or get a Warlord Influence Amulet rolled for determination / pride reservation efficiency so you can fit in Defiance Banner. If you feel like your damage is good enough, you can drop Pride and use Defiance Banner for more defense instead until you get the extra mana reservation efficiency to run both. And that's pretty much it. This is very simple, cut and dry. I do want to say one final thing about this build is this specific gear list has a Colossal Tower shield. You can definitely use the Hybrid Evasion Armor setup as well. You can use one of those shields. I forget the name of it. Cardinal Round Shield, I think it's called. So you want to use either that or the Colossal. I think the Cardinal Round Shields are actually slightly easier to roll now until you get to, you know, until you're trying to get like the perfect endgame shield. I think Colossal has just a very marginal amount of total damage you can get, slightly higher, but really not that big of a difference. That's probably the only thing I would add. So, you know, do what you want there. But yeah, again, Mega Zoom build should be pretty fun if you want to play something more melee oriented that still, you know, maps incredibly fast. So moving on to the next thing, Volatile, Dead, Detonate, Dead, Slinger. So I'm going to add one caveat here where I explain the new Specters before I get into this. I'm going to go on a little tangent. This build, because there's going to be people in the comments, this build is fine. This build is still very strong. For speed mapping, this build is going to be very good, okay? If you want to speed run maps. This build may still be pretty decent at bossing as well. It's something that I would have to test, and we cannot test that, so I'm not going to recommend it as a hybrid build. This is a bare minimum conservative estimate. It will still be an amazing mapper. The question of how well on hit DD will boss is a little bit up in the air. It is getting kind of a decent chunk of damage hit there. So I'm not going to put it in the hybrid section. It still may be pretty good at bossing. So this is definitely the zoomer build out of all 4 of these. This one definitely has the easiest time bossing by far and has the potential to actually be a pretty decent bosser. But for the sake of the nerfs, a conservative estimate is only putting it in the zoomers. So if you really want to map fast, you really like Spell Slinger Volatile Dead builds, play it. Do not be scared. This build can still map at the speed of light. You're not going to have damage problems or anything. I can promise you. I know this for a fact because last league, going into Scourge League, I jumped on my self-cast Detonate Dead character, and I was running through T16s like butter, and I had no Specters. I wasn't using any Specters, so I was just using 6-link Detonate Dead with no Specters. So if I'm still like one-shotting shit in T16 maps, granted that's a 6-link Detonate Dead, right? But if I'm still one-shotting shit in T16 maps with just no Specters at all, like you're gonna have no damage problems for just mapping. I promise you. I know there's still gonna be people in the comments that are gonna be like, DD got nerfed. Yes, it's so. Trust me, the builds are still good. You could still play Ignite DD if you wanted to too. The damage is still there. It's not, you know, crazy insane doing all content in the game on white items level ridiculous, but it's still a good build. Probably one of the best Ignite builds actually. Anyway, getting sidetracked. So for this, I have another guide linked because I feel like it does more justice than I could do in this time span of just linking you guys a POB. Even though if you guys want my perspective on it, I do have a build diary on my channel where I go through like day 1, day 2, day 3, killing all the Maven invites, killing Cirrus, killing Maven on this build. Well, it was my version of the build. I don't like Lily's is going to be slightly different, but it was my version of the build, and I did all content in the game on it. So if you want to go and see my perspective and my like progression through Scourge on it, there is a playlist on my channel. I can link that down below. If you guys are interested, it'll be down there. Otherwise, Lily did a really good guide on this, to be honest. She covers everything. Like if you see here, she shows what the mapping is like, but more importantly, for people who want help leveling, she put leveling skills with like level ranges, and it looks like she has trees for leveling as well and all sorts of stuff here. So this guide is actually high quality. I feel comfortable just linking you this guide. And if you need any help, you can refer to the video. And then again, if you still need help with the build, this is a build that I played a shit ton last league, and again, did all content in the game in HCSSF on it. So feel free to like drop by the Discord or stream or whatever, you know, all those different links, blah, 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 if you need help with this build specifically. However, this Lily guide is really high quality, so I'm linking it here. Again, it's scummy for me to just steal her POB, and I think the video does add to the content. So that will be in the link down below. Now, the very last build here is actually Bleed Bow Glad, played with Split Arrow. Keep in mind, there was no one really playing this at all. I looked around on PoE Ninja and I tried to find other builds and stuff, and there wasn't really anything. There are a few people that are league starting this in more softcore oriented leagues, and thus their trees are ridiculous levels of softcore. So I had to make my own tree for this. This is a very generic tree. This is pretty cut and dry. It's very simple. There are some changes you could make to this if you want to. However, this tree will be fine for you. It is a level 96 tree. It covers a lot of the basics for Bleed Bow, and this is pretty comfortable. You may notice the damage over here on the sides isn't super high. Do keep in mind, like I said, it is a zoomer build. It's a mapping build. This is what your puncture DPS is at. But also keep in mind that I just threw in random POB recommended like rares. Like this is just random shit. The bow is going to be way better. Like bows are going to be way better next patch for Bleed Bow. Quivers are going to be way stronger too. So don't let these numbers scare you off of playing it. It should still be plenty strong for mapping. Getting a build like this up to like bossing level is going to take a lot more time and investment. But for just speed mapping, Bleed Bow is going to be buttery smooth. It's going to be very fast. You won't have to worry about anything. Bleed Pops will carry you all the way anyway. But that is a small caveat there that the numbers are in POB are going to look pretty low because again, you know, like it's a lot like a melee build. Like a lot of your damage is getting carried by your weapons. This being the bow and the quiver in this sense. So it is very conservative estimate on damage. You should have no problem mapping T16s with this. Anyway, so that is everything. So this concludes the video. This is what I can recommend in good conscience to people. There's a lot of spell builds and stuff if you want to play that. But again, you know, tale as old as time. When it comes to PoE, you want to play something that's tried and true. You know, don't leave anything to chance, right? That's just how the game has always been. If you want to have the most comfortable league start possible, that's the way to do it. If anyone wants to go out on a limb and play Bladefall, Blade Blast, stuff like that, I have POB trees for that. I just don't want to link them in my best league starters video. There's tons of builds that I have planned that I want to do build diaries on. I will probably do a video on that, just quickly going over all the different builds that I have planned, maybe tomorrow when I'm less tired. And yeah, I think that may be the last video I put out. If you guys have any like last minute videos that you want me to put out regarding the 3.17 start, please let me know. I will pump them out as fast as I can before Friday morning for me. That's when the league starts, Friday morning at 10 a.m. So that'll be the end of the video. Thank you very much if you made it this far. If you did, let me know down in the comments below. If you liked the video, please leave me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, feel free to leave me a thumbs down and tell me you think I can do better. And if you're liking the content, please leave me a sub, or click the sub button rather. It does mean a lot to me. I am getting very close to 1,000 and I am itching to hit it as soon as possible. Anywho, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you guys for your support. I hope you all have fun on 3.17. I wish everyone the best league start. Let's have fun, guys. I'm looking forward to it. See you in the next one.